We are here at ASU in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. It is a critical battleground state in the upcoming midterm elections.
And one of the hottest races. It's something, a race really that has a lot of people around the country have their eyes on this particular race, the race for governor between current Democratic Secretary of State Katie Hobbs and her opponent, former TV anchor Republican Kari Lake. And according to 538, our friends there, Kari Lake is up by just 0.7% in the race. So let's bring in now the Democrat candidate for governor of this great state, Arizona, Secretary of State Katie Hobbs. Now, thank you. Well, welcome to the program. I guess you should be welcoming us to your state,
Arizona,
right?
Yes, yeah.
But thank you for being here. And look, your opponent, Kari Lake, is an election denier. Here we are, and this year, an election denier, though, is leading you in many polls. Why?
Every poll has been in the margin of error, and we always knew this was going to be a tight race. You started this segment talking about Arizona as a battleground state, and we are. And a landslide for a Democrat is winning by 1%. So when I won in 2018, it was less than 1%. We knew this race was going to be close, and we're continuing over the next 18 days until this election to make the case to voters of why Kari Lake is too extreme and dangerous for Arizona, and why I'm the right choice to lead as our next governor.
Secretary Hobbs, a lot at stake, as we pointed out. It is a battleground state. The polls are razor thin, as you point out. Why have you refused to debate your opponent? She wants to go head-to-head, toe-to-toe with you, with a moderator.
Look, it is honestly ridiculous that somebody who has based their whole campaign on these lies that are intended to dismantle our democracy, that somehow the problem is that I won't give her a bigger stage to do that. I'm focused on how I can have the best opportunity to make my case directly to voters. This is a good example of that. I've done dozens of interviews and had press availability across the state, and we're going to continue to do that and talk directly to the voters.
But don't you think perhaps some of your opponents say it makes you look weak? You also refuse to debate your primary opponent as well.
Well, that was a different story, and I won that by a wide margin, so it was not an issue. But when people like Kari Lake did everything they could to challenge the election results and try to overturn the will of the voters, I stood firm, and I continue to stand firm.
Why not
in
challenge
the face
her,
of
though, in a public forum? I'm just curious.
As far as I'm concerned, the debate about debates is over. I'm running my campaign the way I'm running my campaign. I'm going to continue to make the case directly to voters.
The case you make to them, and not to belabor that point, is they are tough times for a lot of folks. We talk about the economy, inflation, and I know there's a rising cost of living here. People are putting somebody in that office that they want to stand up for them and fight for them. At worst, it could come off as you're scared to step on that stage, and at best, you're not willing to confront. We're in a new era where sometimes some politicians are seen as bullies, and we've been taught since we were little kids, you got to stand up to a bully. You understand how that might come across. How do you make a case? We want to send you to fight for us, but you won't even step on stage with it.
I have stood up to this bully for the past 2 years, and Arizonans have seen that, and I'm going to continue to do that.
All right.
I want to talk about some of the issues. Obviously, border security, a huge issue here in the state of Arizona. I know you've said that past administrations, even the Biden administration, has not done enough. What would you do as governor to secure the borders here in Arizona?
Well, I have a border security plan that has been endorsed by 2 border sheriffs because they know that it will bring meaningful resources and relief to their communities and help them ensure that they're able to keep their communities safe. What my plan doesn't entail are political stunts like the governor who spent $12 million putting shipping containers on the border or busing migrants to Washington, D.C. Those are political stunts that don't solve any real problems. We need to go to the Biden administration and advocate for more border resources to keep the border secure and address the very real criminal elements that we see at the border. And as governor, I'll be focused on what we can do to help keep those communities safe. And then we also, separate from the crime at the border and border security, is the issue of immigration reform that has been kicked down the road for decades from both parties in Washington, and we need real action there too.
And something else has certainly been a part of your campaign, and I want to make sure I get your quote right. And you quote, your understanding of racism has sometimes been short-sighted. And you put that out, and look, there was an admission there on your part after someone who worked for the, I believe, the Arizona State Senate won a discrimination lawsuit. You were at the time a member of the Arizona State Senate, even though she didn't work directly for you, but you admitted your shortcomings and you apologized publicly. What do you mean that your understanding of racism has been short-sighted at times, and how do you continue to improve? How do you get better at that?
Well, I think first and foremost that Arizonans deserve a leader who is willing to admit mistakes and move forward from them and continue to learn. And that's what I've been focused on throughout my time in public office, where, you know, as right now the leader of a state agency, I have a responsibility to ensure that we're treating our employees fairly and paying them fairly. We addressed a lot of pay disparities in the office when I got to the Secretary of State's office, and my campaigns put out a very comprehensive diversity and inclusion plan that lays out how we will run the government in a way that is inclusive and reflective of the diversity of our state, and I think that's critical.
All right. Arizona Secretary of State and Democratic candidate for governor here in Arizona, Katie Hobbs, thank you for your time. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks so much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.